Huh? Did you say something? I'm sorry, I could not hear you over the massive L standing in between us. You're gonna have to speak up because it's got its own soundproofing and everything. Hey, I wasn't the one who made the stipulations that extreme. I would have happily left it at bragging rights, but you thought it was a great idea to make the whole thing about doing the other person's assignments for the week. And since you constantly rubbed in my face that you had a date with Drew Hamilton the night before, I knew that it wouldn't be difficult to get a better score on the test. Andy told me that it didn't go great, so I'm sorry that you had to take 2 L's in the span of a week. If I would have known beforehand, I might have considered letting you take the dub on this one. Probably not, but I might have. Get over yourself. Do you remember when you got the better mile time than me and you wouldn't stop shoving it down my throat for weeks? What I am doing is absolutely tame in comparison to that. And you only beat me by 14 seconds. Did you really expect me to not remember when you spelled out 14 seconds in duct tape on the door of my Camry? It took me such a long time to get that off while making sure that none of the paint ripped off in the process. I never said I wasn't above equal retaliation. Plus, who would I be if I had a friend whose father ran an aviary and I didn't get the birds to shit on someone's windshield as a prank? Someone who never took full advantage of their resources, that's who. I'm not one to usually snitch, but to rub a little more salt in the wound, I don't think I have a problem telling you that it was the lover boy himself, Drew Hamilton. Yeah, you wouldn't want to get involved with him anyways. He has this whole saga thing going on with Diane Rosenthal, and getting in the middle of that is a death sentence. Anyways, we are here. This is my home, and although I usually don't invite unfriendly faces into it, this is the perfect exception. Yeah, nobody is home today. The folks are away on a business trip for the week, so I have the place to myself as usual. My room is upstairs and it has the best desk in the house and a perfect chair for you to sit on and get this A-push done for me. It's a study guide and I know how much you adore those. For once, that is something that I can definitely agree with. I don't get why Alvarez requires that we complete a study guide for a grade as an assignment when the whole point of a study guide is to aid you in studying, and that feels contradictory when you just turn it into another thing that feels like homework. And nobody's going to want to complete something that they are being forced to complete. And the test is more valuable to the final grade than the study guide itself, and I can't help but feel like it's all just completely backwards. I do have nuanced takes pretty often. I just don't ever say them around you because we're too busy harassing each other on a daily basis. And here we are. This is my room. That is my desk. You can put 2 and 2 together, I think. I don't remember giving you permission to absent-mindedly snoop around my room. Pretty sure I didn't, though. Well, since I can't stop you, go ahead, I guess. I have nothing to hide, and it's always better for a worker to feel more acquainted with their environment. So hopefully you'll be more productive than you usually are after this. Wow, gotta be real with you, for a second at least. I'm pleasantly surprised. That is a vinyl of Saturdays at Your Place. As a white dude who lives in the Midwest and is pretty depressed a fair amount of the time, it's only natural that I would gravitate towards Midwest emo. You too? That's pretty cool. So, do you feel like you have enough of a grasp of the place to do these study guides, or what? I don't know. I don't really think you're in the place to be making demands, but you're being far less rude than you usually are, so I'll hear you out, sure. The vinyl player does work. What about it? I guess we can play it while you work. Yeah, the pens are in the cup on the right side of the desk. The drawer? Oh, there's nothing in the drawer that would be of any interest to you. That would be my journal. Yeah. I don't really have many people to talk about my feelings and emotions with, seeing as my parents are gone all the time, so I find that it's the best way to get my emotions out healthily. I am looking you dead in the eyes and telling you this with all the sincerity that I possibly can muster up. Please do not read it. Because if you do, the relationship that the two of us have will change completely, and we only have a year left. And don't you enjoy the rapport that we've built with each other? No, it's not that. It's the... And you're doing it. Okay, cool. Awesome. I won't. I won't do it. Because if I read it out loud, that makes this all real, and I don't know if I want it to be real. Fuck. What do I have to lose at this point, I guess? August 23rd, 2023. Dear Journal, I don't know if I can keep doing this anymore. Every single day I walk into that classroom and I have to focus all of my attention on forcing my heart down so it doesn't leap out of my throat and I don't just tell her how amazing she looks sitting there. I'm in a constant state of battle with my intrusive thoughts telling me to declare my interest in her on the spot, and I'm surprised that they haven't gotten the best of me at this point. The way our eyes meet whenever Donaldson announces which one of us has top marks on whatever test we just took makes everything around us fade away into nothingness. It's just me and her at that moment, and she doesn't have a single idea that I am looking at her with an emotion I've hidden from her completely. Longing. Pining. Wishing that she could see through my facade and reassure me that she feels the exact same way. And that she's been feeling the same magnetism that I have for as long as we've known each other. Sometimes I think I delude myself into seeing a certain glimmer in her eyes that would be indicative of that, but the reality of the situation is too strong to overcome. At best, we're frenemies. At worst, she puts up with me for the game of it. The only thing I know is that I have to find a way to tell her how I truly feel by the end of the year, or I don't know how I'm going to be able to live with myself harboring an unrequited passion that I don't even know is unrequited. She needs to know. She deserves to know. She's going to know. And I can only sit here and scribble these thoughts down and hope that one day we're both celebrating our anniversary and we're sitting in our matching rocking chairs and we're looking at this very entry and we're laughing about how silly we both were. Oh, what a dream that would be. So, you forced the can of worms open. It's only right that you decide where we start with this whole thing. At the beginning. Ah, classic you. Giving me a technical answer, but making me do all the work anyways. Here we go, I guess. Remember your first day after you transferred? You came in, shuffled directly to your seat, and didn't speak to anyone for the entire day aside from the teacher when you answered every single question they would ask. I do know. We had the exact same schedule sophomore year. You sat alone in the upper right-hand corner of the cafeteria for lunch and tried to make yourself as small as possible. I know our whole dynamic is teasing, but if it isn't already evident, we are very clearly in vulnerable mode right now, so at least try to hear me out, and then you can laugh as much as you want. I promise. I noticed, not because I was a stalker, but because I worry a lot about transfers who come in the middle of the year. Our school is so cliquey and people can have a hard time finding their way into a group for years. Anyways, the next day, I don't know if you remember, but I came up to you before homeroom and tried to introduce myself. You were huddled over your desk, working on an assignment that was due in 2 weeks, and when I said your name, you looked up at me. At that moment, all of time froze, and I got a good look at your face for the first time. I hope this doesn't sound too shallow, but as soon as I saw you, it was already too late. I've never been attracted to the pure aura that the face of someone exudes, but you flipped that on its head immediately. And after whatever controls the world pressed play on my life again, do you remember what you said to me? It was this, verbatim: "Leave me alone and don't talk to me again." It was exactly that. As callous as you could possibly imagine. And then you just went back to your assignment. I went back to my desk and came to terms with the fact that I would never speak to you again. It was like that for a month or so. You didn't interact with anyone in the school, sat alone in your corner with no interest in the world outside of your bubble, and I watched you, wondering if there was any possible way to get you to notice me. And then it clicked. It was very clear that you were passionate about your academics, and during one of those silly team building exercises we did in Gilligan's class, you wrote that your aspiration was to become valedictorian. So if I couldn't get you to pay attention to me as a friend, maybe I could get you to pay attention to me as a rival. So I started really putting my all into my coursework. I was a straight A student before that, but never really made the effort to get over a 4.0. And just as I had suspected, you did start noticing me. Sure, it wasn't in a positive way, but you were still noticing me. Then as I started to catch up to you, you started to open yourself up to me a little bit more. I know it was because you were teasing me, but I observed that it started to translate over to your other social interactions. You were starting to make a couple of friends and even kind of joined a social clique. Naturally, I started upping the ante with extracurriculars, which neither of us were doing before then. I showed you that I had joined the football team. You started doing cross country. I joined the debate team. You joined the mathletes. I started the cinema club. You started the production club for theater. And with each of these extracurriculars you joined or created, you started making more friends, and you started looking happier, and you even started really initiating banter with me. And before I knew it, you were shining like the star that I had always seen you as. And although I was so happy for you, there was still a little pit in my stomach because I knew that you didn't want anything to do with me. At least not in the way that I wanted you. Like I said in the journal, it was getting to be a little too much for my heart to handle, so I vowed that by the end of the year, I would tell you exactly how I was feeling. And that brings us to this moment right now. A little bit earlier than I had wanted, but it's all out on the table. No, 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 no. Of course, I'm not saying you accomplished all of those great things because of me. You definitely would have been our valedictorian, no contest, and you're the best speaker that the school has ever seen. I just tried to give you a little push to put yourself out there even further and give people an opportunity to see how awesome of a person you are. I don't see it that way. Sure, you've never actually said you enjoy my company or anything like that, but the way that we tease each other, at least to me, does imply some form of camaraderie, and when you started opening up to me, I always figured we were frenemies, like I said in the journal, or at least that was your perception of how I felt about you. Yeah, I meant it. You're the biggest star the universe has ever seen, and I'm just honored that I get to see you shine. Never in my wildest dreams did I expect that. We don't have to pretend anymore. I'm never going another day without telling you how magnificent I think you are. I promise. You do? Really? In that case, have you ever considered getting into professional gambling? Because you have the best poker face of all time. I had no idea. Wait, was that date with Drew Hamilton just to make me jealous? What do you mean, what date? Don't tell me it didn't even happen and you were just rubbing a fake date in my face for 2 days. Although that is kind of hilarious, it doesn't matter. You're mine. I'm yours. We have a whole year to be there for each other in the building we pretended to not be. And then I can't even imagine what the future has in store for us. There's one last matter we have to discuss before we go back to kissing, though. When are you going to get to work and do those study guides for us? Okay, I'm weighing it out. Those are two very interesting options, but I think I'm gonna take the latter, actually.
Always working on myself, never working on myself.